What's going on, guys? This is Dean from Wafflypie, and we're back for more Kerbal Space Program. So today we're going to be launching a few missions to the moon, not necessarily to land, but we are going to be putting a few things in orbit, and we're going to start with the Kethane scanner probe. So let's start it up. So what this probe does is once it's in low orbit, well, it can do it from most orbits, but it does it best at low orbit, and it will detect kethane on the surface of the moon. And like this green hexagon here on Kerbin, if there is kethane in the surface there, that means that the hexagon will be green, and if not, it'll be gray. Okay, so now we have the maneuver for our moon transfer, and we want this in a polar orbit, so I've gone ahead and done it so that when we come up on an angle for the moon encounter, so that it'll be easier to get into a polar orbit. Actually, this is actually a fairly efficient burn with just under 900 meters per second delta V. More than enough to get to use some of this in the actual positioning of the probe. Oh, well, okay. It would appear that the maneuver has out of that, and that's going to take a lot more fuel than I would like it to. Well, we recovered from that situation, and just have come and see that it's actually put us in a polar orbit itself, so we actually do not have to do any plane correction, which is usually the most fuel-intensive part of the trip. We simply have to do a 2-second burn, and then we'll be done with this part. We'll be done with this part of the mission. Also, now that I look at it, our orbit is normal to the sun, meaning that we will always be in perpetual sunlight and will never have to stop searching for kethane because we'll always be within a power source. So let's start the burn. Now I'm not exactly sure what to do with... I suppose what I could do is burn a little bit more and get into an encounter with the surface. And then detach the probe. Burn forward with this. In a 10,000 kilometer orbit. I believe is a safe orbit for this. And it'll even pass over the moon landing. So we can now activate the Kethane scanner. Now it's detecting for Kethane. So I could have it with the tone on. Give it a second. Did you hear that? That was the noise that it makes. And when it's going over terrain very fast, that sound can be very intense. It can be hard on your ears because it's somewhat high pitched and it happens very fast. But so we're done with the Kethane scanner. That is all we had to do. Point it to the sun. So now it's time for our second launch, the moon station. So this is going to be similar to the last station that we put up around Kerbin, other than the fact that it's much smaller and does not meet the same qualities as the one around Kerbin. However, this will be in orbit around the moon and also be a station to dock moon missions to. So we've detached the lift module and we're now running off of the station's fuel. However, it is very efficient for what it is because it's a large, short engine, which is fairly efficient, and a half tank of the thick one. So with this burn that I'm doing right now, we will have... Oh, I may have pressed X there. But we will have put ourselves into a low moon, or well, not low, but about medium moon orbit, and we will be prepped for a full circular orbit. So I will see you guys at that point. So a simple 3-minute burn, 3-second burn is all that we need to get into the perfect circular, well, not perfectly, but into the circular equatorial orbit that we need. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll finish off today with some information with this Kethane probe. What it does is it scans for Kethane on the surface. Unfortunately, however, it does not do this while you're not flying the mission. So if you want to find Kethane, you actually have to have this ship active. So I guess if you wanted to like leave, go and like look on Facebook or whatever, then that's one way you could do it. Of course, you would want to turn the tone off, which I forgot to do. Some other things about it is that if it does find Kethane, then you can't just have any mission go there and pick it up. You actually need to build a specific thing that can hold Kethane and can drill Kethane. And that way you can actually take it out from the ground and have it be useful. This is simply just to find it. And it does not look like we've found any on the moon so far. One of the best ways to find Kethane is by going into a low orbit like I have here, and then using time acceleration. Your best bet is probably with 10 times. You can do it with 50, but that's a bit because when you get into 50 times acceleration, then you can tend to skip hexagons, and you don't really want to because Kethane's a pretty valuable resource, and it's not very good to not know where one is. If you're in a low orbit, then I'd say go 10 times. If you're in a bit of a higher orbit, like 30,000, or I, to be safe, you might want to go up to 60 or 70. Then you can do 50 or even 100 times because that way you'll be going over so slowly. But then it's a waste of time in and of itself. So this, at a low orbit with 10 times accelerate, is probably the best way to find it. And like, you can see how quickly the hexagons pop up, and it'll do this all around the surface of the moon or wherever you're scanning. And I would particularly like to find some on this side of the moon here, the one that's Kerbin, because that's where I want to set up my base. But I'm not sure if there's always a chance that it can be there. So hopefully it is. And I might run this in between some episodes just to find some when I'm not really doing anything. But chances are I won't do it much or very often because it's very time consuming. But that's pretty much all that we have to cover for the moon missions. So this has been Wafflypie, and I'll see you guys next time.